The ground shook as another explosion lit up the sky. Lieutenant Jack Harmon pressed his body against the crumbling wall and counted to 3 before moving again. Smoke filled his lungs, and the smell of burned metal hung in the air. His medical kit bumped against his leg as he ran between buildings. "Harmon, what's your position?" The voice of Captain Grant crackled through his comm device. "East Sector, Building Complex C," Jack replied, keeping his voice low. "Still searching for survivors." "Negative. Fall back to extraction point. Kavak's forces are pushing forward." Jack looked at the destruction around him. The research facility had been beautiful once, with its curved architecture and shimmering glass. Now it was just another battlefield on planet Viridian. Another casualty in the 3-year war between humans and the Kavak's Imperium. "5 more minutes, sir," Jack said. My scanner picked up a life sign nearby. Captain Grant's voice hardened. "That's an order, Lieutenant. We can't risk more men for possible Kavak survivors. They wouldn't do the same for us." Jack switched off his comm without answering. As a combat medic, he had sworn to help anyone in need, human or alien. He checked his scanner again and moved toward a partially collapsed hallway. The life sign was weak but steady. Jack cleared debris as he went, his heart beating faster. Most of his unit believed all Kavaks were bloodthirsty monsters. The enemy. Aliens stood 7 feet tall with tough, gray-green skin and 4 arms. Their government had started this war, but Jack had always wondered about the regular Kavaks people. Did they all support this fighting? A soft sound stopped him. It was like nothing he had heard before. Not quite a moan, not quite a word. Jack pointed his light into a small room that had once been a lab. There, half buried under fallen ceiling panels, lay a Kavaks. But this one was smaller than the soldiers Jack had seen on the battlefield, and it had no armor, just torn clothes. That looked like a scientist's uniform. The alien's 4 eyes widened at the sight of him. It tried to move away, but cried out in pain. "Easy," Jack said, raising his empty hands. "I'm a medic. I want to help." The Kavak stared at him, breathing fast. Dark blue blood seeped from wounds on its side and leg. One of its 4 arms was bent. At a wrong angle, Jack reached for his translation device and spoke into it. "I am a doctor. I will help you. Do you understand?" After a moment, the device played his words in the clicking, whistling language of the Kavaks. The alien's eyes blinked in surprise. It said something, and the translator converted it to English. "Why would a human help me?" Jack moved closer, slowly. "Because you're hurt. That's reason enough." He began to treat the alien's wounds, using his scanner to check for internal damage. Up close, he could see that this Kavaks had softer features than the soldiers. Its skin had a more bluish tint, and its face seemed more expressive. "What's your name?" Jack asked as he worked. The alien hesitated before answering. "Naira. I am Naira." The voice through the translator sounded female. "I'm Jack Harmon." He applied a healing gel to her largest wound. "You're not a soldier, are you?" "No. I am a xenobiologist. I study other life forms." Naira winced as Jack said. Her broken arm. "They forced many scientists to work here. Developing weapons." Jack frowned. "You were forced?" "Most Kavaks don't want this war," she said. "Our military leaders took control. They punish anyone who speaks of peace." This was not what Earth propaganda said about the Kavaks. Jack had been told they were all united in their hatred of humans. His comm device buzzed again. "Harmon, where the hell are you?" "Extraction in 10 minutes." Jack looked at Naira. By military rules, he should take her as a prisoner for questioning. But wounded prisoners rarely received good treatment, and Captain Grant was known for his harsh methods. "Can you walk?" he asked. "Not well," Naira replied. Jack made a quick decision. I'm going to get you out of here. Somewhere safe. Naira's 4 eyes widened. Why would you risk yourself for an enemy? You said it yourself. You're not my enemy. The people who forced you to work here are. Jack helped her sit up. Besides, my job is saving lives. I don't check species first. He helped Naira stand, supporting her weight. She was lighter than he expected, despite being taller than him. Jack grabbed a soldier's cloak from his pack and wrapped it around her to hide her alien features. Our transport is leaving soon. I'll say you're an injured human researcher. He looked at her seriously. But you'll need to stay quiet and keep your face covered. Naira seemed to understand the danger. If your people discover me, they won't. Jack promised, though he wasn't sure how he would manage it. Another explosion rocked the building. Closer this time. Kavak's forces are coming back, Jack said. We need to move now. Together they made their way through the ruins, Jack half carrying Naira as her injured leg dragged behind her. Twice they had to hide from human patrols. Each time, Jack felt his heart pound with fear of discovery. As they neared the landing area, Jack saw the medical transport waiting. Soldiers were loading equipment and wounded humans aboard. Captain Grant stood nearby, checking names off a list. Change of plans, Jack whispered to Naira. We'll use the chaos. He waited until Grant turned away, then quickly moved toward the back of the transport where the most seriously wounded were being placed. Jack nodded to another medic he knew. Got a badly injured researcher here, he said casually. Found her in the East Wing. The other medic barely looked at the cloaked figure. Put her with the critical cases. We're leaving in 2 minutes. Jack helped Naira into the transport and placed her in a corner, arranging blankets around her. Stay. Still, he whispered. Don't make a sound until I come for you. She caught his hand with one of hers. Her skin felt cool and slightly rough against his. Why are you doing this? She asked again. Jack thought about it for a moment. Because it's right. And maybe because we need to start somewhere if this war is ever going to end. He joined the other medics as the transport doors closed. As the ship lifted off, he watched flames consume the research facility below. Kavak's troops were already moving through the ruins. Jack had just committed an act that some would call treason. He had rescued an enemy alien and was bringing her to Earth. He didn't know what would happen next or how he would keep her safe. But looking at Naira across the crowded transport, seeing the trust and wonder in her 4 eyes, Jack knew he had made the right choice. Whatever came next, this moment had changed everything. 6 months had passed since the evacuation from Viridian. Jack Harmon drove his old truck up the winding mountain road, watching his pine trees thicken on either side. The Appalachian wilderness stretched for miles, hiding the small cabin that had become his secret. The demotion still stung. Lieutenant Jack Harmon was now just Medic Harmon, assigned to a quiet medical outpost on Luna Colony. His commanding officer had called it reassignment due to questionable judgment in the field. Jack knew what it really meant. Captain Grant suspected something about that day, but couldn't prove anything. Jack parked near the cabin and grabbed 2 heavy bags from the passenger seat. The 3-day leave had been hard to get, but he had managed. These visits were becoming the most important part of his life. Naira? He called as he opened the door. It's me. The cabin was warm, with a fire crackling in the stone fireplace. Jack had chosen this remote location carefully. The nearest town was 20 miles away, and the few neighbors thought he was a war veteran who valued privacy. Naira appeared from the back room. She moved more smoothly now than when he had first brought her to Earth. Her broken arm had healed, and she walked with only a slight limp. In the firelight, her gray-green skin had an almost blue glow. Jack, she said, her voice still carrying the strange musical quality of her species. though her English had improved greatly. "You are earlier than expected." He set down the bags. "Caught an earlier transport. Brought you some new books and those supplements Dr. Kelly made." Dr. Susan Kelly was the only other person who knew about Naira, as Jack's former colleague from medical school. She had helped him treat Naira's injuries without asking too many questions. Now she secretly created the special nutrients that Naira needed to survive on Earth. Naira used her lower right arm to take the bag of supplements while her upper arms reached for the books. The way she could move all 4 limbs independently still amazed Jack. "How are you feeling?" he asked, taking off his jacket. "Better each day," Naira said. "The air here is thinner than my home world, but my lungs are adapting." She set the books on a table. "And you? Any problems at your base?" Jack shook his head. "Just boring medical duties. The war seems far away on Luna." But it wasn't far away. Not really. News reports spoke of major battles on 3 different planets. The Kavak's forces had pushed back in some sectors, and human colonies lived in fear of attack. They ate dinner together, a stew Jack had made before leaving and special nutrient paste for Naira. Their conversations during these meals had become a lifeline for both of them. "Tell me more about your home," Jack said as they sat by the fire later. Naira's 4 eyes looked into the flames. "My city was called Luravis. It sits beside a purple ocean, with buildings that change color with the setting of our 2 suns." Her voice softened. "Before the military leaders took control, we were preparing for peaceful contact with humans. My research team studied your biology, your languages. What happened?" Jack asked. "A faction of our military discovered a rich planet they wanted. They claimed humans would destroy it, that we needed to strike first." Naira's upper hands made a gesture of sadness. Those who spoke against war were silenced. Scientists like me were forced to work on weapons. Jack thought about the propaganda he had seen, images of Kavaks as mindless killers. How many other Nairas were there, forced to fight a war they didn't believe in? "I've brought something else," Jack said, reaching into his pocket. He pulled out a small device. "It's a data pad with information about human cultures. I thought you might want to learn more about us while you're here." Naira took the pad carefully. "Your people would not approve of this. Sharing information with the enemy." "You're not my enemy," Jack said firmly. "You never were." Later that night, as Naira slept in the bedroom and Jack made his bed on the couch, he wondered what he was doing. Hiding an alien on Earth during wartime would be considered treason. Yet each visit made him more certain he had made the right choice. The next morning, Jack noticed something strange. Naira seemed to sway slightly while standing in the kitchen. "Are you okay?" he asked, moving quickly to her side. "Just a moment of dizziness," she said. "It has happened several times recently." Jack frowned and took out his medical scanner. "Let me check you." The readings confused him. Her body chemistry showed unusual changes. Not dangerous, but not normal for her. Species based on the baseline he had established months ago. "Your system seems to be adapting to Earth in ways I didn't expect," he said. "I should take some samples for Dr. Kelly to analyze." Naira sat down, all 4 arms wrapped around herself. "Jack, there is something I must tell you. Something I learned at the research facility." Her serious tone made him sit beside her. "What is it?" "The project I worked on. It wasn't just weapons development. We were studying how Kavak's bodies could adapt to different planets." She looked away. "Some of the scientists were working on genetic modifications that would allow our people to survive on Earth-like worlds if we conquered them." Jack felt a chill. "Were you part of that work?" "No, but I saw the results." Naira's 4 eyes met. His. "My body shouldn't be adapting this well to Earth. It's not possible without the modifications." I think they may have experimented on me without my knowledge. The implications were enormous. If the Kavax military was planning long-term occupation of human worlds, ... double quotes, we need to know more, Jack said. I'll take samples to Dr. Kelly tomorrow. That night, a storm rolled through the mountains. Thunder shook the small cabin, and rain lashed against the windows. Jack found Naira standing by the window, watching the lightning. We have nothing like this on my world, she said softly. It's beautiful and frightening. Jack stood beside her, suddenly aware of how close they were. That's how I feel about a lot of things these days. Naira turned to look at him. In the flashes of lightning, her alien features seemed both strange and familiar. Jack had saved her life, hidden her, protected her. Somewhere along the way, she had become important to him in ways he couldn't explain. If they find me, Naira said, what will happen to you? They won't find you, Jack promised. But even if they did, I wouldn't regret helping you. Naira reached out with her upper right hand and touched his face gently. The gesture was so human, it made his heart skip. In my culture, she said, a life saved is a bond that cannot be broken. You and I are connected now, Jack Harmon. As lightning flashed again outside, Jack realized how true that was. Whatever came next, the war, her strange adaptation to Earth, the risks they faced, they would face it together. 2 years had passed since Jack found Naira on the battlefield. The war between humans and the Kavax had reached a standstill, with both sides holding their positions across 3 star systems. Jack no longer wore a military uniform. A Fevax energy weapon had caught him in the leg during his last deployment, earning him an honorable discharge and a slight limp dot. Now he worked as a doctor in the small town of Pine Ridge, 20 miles from the cabin. The locals knew him as the quiet veteran, who kept to himself. No one suspected that he regularly visited an alien from the enemy species. The autumn leaves crunched under Jack's boots as he walked from his truck to the cabin door. He carried a medical bag and a scanner that Dr. Kelly had modified for him. Naira opened the door before he could knock. She had grown more attuned to the sound of his truck over the years. You look tired, she said, taking his bag with her lower arms while her upper arms guided him inside. Long day at the clinic, Jack replied. Flu season is starting. The cabin had changed over time. Naira had added touches that reflected her culture. Strange geometric patterns on the walls, crystals that caught the light in ways that reminded her of home. Jack had built shelves for her growing collection of books. She had read everything from human history to poetry, eager to understand the species she now lived among. Dr. Kelly sent the new test results, Jack said, pulling out his tablet as they sat at the small wooden table. Your body chemistry continues to change. Naira nodded. She had been experiencing strange symptoms for months, changes in her skin tone, sensitivity to light, and periods of unusual energy or exhaustion. Show me, she said. Jack displayed the charts. Your cellular structure is adapting to Earth's environment at a genetic level. It's like your DNA is rewriting itself. The modifications they made to me, Naira said quietly, they are more extensive than we thought. Jack looked at her with concern. In the firelight, her skin had a warmer tone than the typical Kavax gray-green. Her 4 eyes seemed to catch the light differently. We should do another full scan, he said. Your symptoms have been getting stronger. Naira agreed, and Jack set up the portable scanner Dr. Kelly had provided. As the blue light passed over Naira's body, Jack watched the readings appear on his screen. Then he froze. Jack? Naira asked, noticing his expression. What is wrong? He ran the scan again, focusing on her midsection. The readings were the same. This can't be possible, he whispered. Tell me, Naira said, her voice firm. Jack looked up at her, his face pale. "You're pregnant." Silence filled the cabin. Naira stared at him, all four of her eyes wide with shock. "That is not possible," she finally said. "Our species cannot reproduce together. The genetic difference is too great." "I know," Jack said, showing her the scan. "But there it is. A developing life form with both Kavaks and human DNA." Naira's hands, all four of them, trembled as she looked at the image. "How long?" "Based on the development ... about 2 months." Jack ran his hand through his hair. "I need to call Dr. Kelly. This is beyond anything we expected." They sat in stunned silence as they waited for Dr. Kelly to arrive. Their relationship had evolved over the past 2 years from rescuer and refugee to deep friendship and eventually to love. But neither had imagined this could be a consequence. Dr. Susan Kelly arrived 3 hours later, her car bumping up the forest road. She was the only human besides Jack who knew about Naira, and she had kept their secret while providing medical help. "I came as soon as I could," she said, rushing in with her equipment. "Show me the scans." After examining Naira and reviewing the data, Dr. Kelly sat across from them, her expression serious. "The genetic modifications Naira mentioned, they must have been more advanced than anyone realized," she said. "They weren't just adapting Kavaks to survive on Earth-like planets. They were creating the possibility of integration with human populations." "Why would they do that?" Jack asked. "Long-term colonization strategy, perhaps," Dr. Kelly suggested. "Or some kind of biological research we don't understand." Naira placed her lower hands on her abdomen. "What will happen to the child? And to me?" Dr. Kelly's face softened. "I don't know. This has never happened before. The pregnancy appears to be progressing faster than a human one. Based on the development after just 2 months, I would estimate a 5 to 6 month full term. Is it dangerous for her?" Jack asked, taking one of Naira's hands. "Possibly," Dr. Kelly admitted. "Her body is changing to support the child, but it's a strain. We'll need to monitor her carefully." After Dr. Kelly left, Jack and Naira sat on the porch, watching the stars appear. The same stars that were the backdrop for the ongoing war between their peoples. "Are you afraid?" Jack asked. Naira was quiet for a moment. "Yes, but not of the child." She looked at him. "I fear what others would do if they discovered us. What they would do to a child that is both human and Kavaks." Jack knew she was right to worry. Either side would want to study such a child, or worse. "No one will find out," he promised. "And if they do, I'll protect you both." But even as he said it, Jack knew their secret might be harder to keep. Naira would need more medical care. The child would have special needs. And someone might eventually notice his regular trips to the cabin. "I received a message today," Naira said suddenly. "Through the communication device I built. Some of my people, the ones who opposed the war, have been searching for me. They picked up signals from my attempts to monitor Kavak's communications." Jack tensed. "Do they know where you are?" "No, but they are looking." Naira's 4 eyes reflected the starlight. "And if they can track my signals, then others might too." Jack finished. The military on both sides would have better tracking equipment than civilian resistance groups. That night, as Naira slept, Jack stood by the window, watching the dark forest. Their private world had seemed safe, but now it felt fragile. A human doctor and an alien scientist, expecting a child that should not be possible. They were about to become the most sought-after people in the war. Jack placed his hand on the window. Somewhere out there, both humans and Kavaks fought and died. And here, in this small cabin, a new life grew that was both species at once. A bridge between worlds that were trying to destroy each other. "I will keep you safe," he whispered to the night. "Both of you." 5 months had passed since they discovered Naira's pregnancy. The winter snow blanketed the forest around their cabin, creating a peaceful scene that masked the growing tension inside. Jack paced by the window, watching for any sign of movement. On the road below, "You should rest," Naira said from the couch where she lay. Her body had changed dramatically. Her once slender form was now swollen with the child, and her skin had developed patches of a rosy hue that blended with her natural gray-green color. "I saw a drone yesterday," Jack replied, not moving from his post. "Military design. It circled twice before heading east." Naira struggled to sit up, using all four arms to push herself into a better position. The pregnancy had progressed much, faster than a human one, just as Dr. Kelly had predicted. In 5 months, Naira looked as if she were in the final weeks of pregnancy. "It could have been routine patrol," she said, though her voice lacked conviction. Jack shook his head. "There's never been military patrols this deep in the mountains." He turned to look at her. "Someone's looking for something. Or someone—" The last few months had been a race against time. Dr. Kelly visited weekly, bringing supplies and monitoring Naira's health, which grew more fragile as the pregnancy advanced. The baby was developing in ways neither human nor Kavex, taking resources from Naira's body that she struggled to replace. Jack's tablet beeped with an incoming message. It was from Dr. Kelly. "Don't come to town," the message read. "Someone's asking questions about you at the hospital. Military intelligence. I'll come to you tonight." Jack showed the message to Naira, whose 4 eyes widened with fear. "It's starting," she said quietly. Jack knelt beside her. "We have a plan, remember? If anyone comes, we have the hidden room under the cabin. You'll be safe there until I can get us away." Naira touched his face with one of her upper hands. "Jack, we need to consider what's best for the child." Before he could answer, a sound caught his attention. The faint hum of an approaching vehicle. Jack moved quickly to the window and used his binoculars to scan the road. "Military jeep," he said, his voice tight. 2 men, still about 10 minutes out. They moved with practiced efficiency. Months of preparing for this moment had made their actions automatic. Jack helped Naira down the hidden trapdoor beneath the kitchen rug into the small bunker he had built. He passed down water, food, and medical supplies. "I'll come for you as soon as it's safe," he promised. Naira held his hand tightly. "Be careful. They will suspect you." Jack closed the trapdoor and replaced the rug and table. Then he quickly scattered some papers on the kitchen counter, poured a half cup of coffee, and settled in an armchair with a medical journal as if he had been reading peacefully all day. The knock on the door was loud and confident. Jack waited for a second knock before answering, his face composed into a look of mild surprise. The man at the door wore a military uniform with major's insignia. His face was familiar in a way that made Jack's blood run cold. "Major Grant," Jack sighed, recognition washing over him. His former commanding officer from the Viridian campaign. "It's Colonel now, actually," Grant replied with a thin smile. "Hello, Harmon. May we come in?" The second man was younger, wearing the insignia of military intelligence. He carried a scanner that made Jack's heart race, though he kept his expression neutral. "What brings the military to my door?" Jack asked, stepping aside to let them enter. "I've been discharged for over a year." Colonel Grant walked around the cabin, his eyes taking in every detail. "Nice place. Very remote." "I like my privacy after the war," Jack said. The intelligence officer activated his scanner, sweeping it around the room. Jack knew it was checking for non-human biosignatures. He had prepared for this too, with special shielding beneath the floor that Dr. Kelly had obtained through her connections. "We're investigating some unusual energy signatures in this area," Grant said. "Communications that don't match any registered human frequency." Jack raised an eyebrow. "And you think I'm running a pirate radio station?" "No. Grant said, his eyes cold. "I think you're hiding something, or someone." The intelligence officer frowned at his scanner. "Sir, I'm getting interference. The readings are unclear." Grant turned to Jack. "You know, I never believed your story about Viridian, about how you lost that enemy technology." Jack kept his face blank. "I filed my report. If you have questions about a 3-year-old mission, I suggest you take it up with command." "Oh, I have," Grant said. "In fact, I've spent quite a bit of time reviewing everything about that day, including the transport manifests." Jack felt a chill run through him, but said nothing. One medical officer reported treating one more patient and was on the official log. Grant continued. "A patient that disappeared upon arrival at Earth base." "Sounds like paperwork error," Jack said evenly. "Common in evacuation chaos." The intelligence officer's scanner suddenly beeped. He looked down at it with surprise. "Sir, I'm picking up something now. It's faint, but—" A loud explosion cut him off as the front window shattered. Smoke poured into the cabin as Jack dove for cover. More explosions followed outside, and the sound of weapons fire filled the air. "We're under attack." The intelligence officer shouted. Grant pulled his sidearm. "Perimeter breach. Call for backup." Jack used the chaos to move toward the kitchen, desperate to reach the trapdoor. But before he could get there, the cabin door burst open. 3 tall figures rushed in, wearing armor Jack recognized immediately. Kavaks. Soldiers. One of the Kavaks fired a weapon that released a pulse of energy. The intelligence officer dropped to the floor, unconscious. Colonel Grant managed to fire his weapon once before another pulse hit him. Jack raised his hands as the Kavaks turned toward him. "I surrender," he said clearly. The lead Kavaks approached. Him, unlike the others, this one wore different markings on its armor. It spoke, and Jack was surprised to hear it use a translation device. "We are not here for you, human," the Kavak said. "We have come for the scientist Naira. Our monitors detected her signal." Jack's mind raced. How had they found her? Then he remembered. The baby. The unique energy signature of the hybrid child must have been strong enough to penetrate his. Shielding. "There's no one here but me," Jack said. The Kavak's leader stepped closer. "Do not lie. We have been searching for her since Viridian. Our resistance needs her knowledge." Jack froze. "Resistance?" "Against our military government," the Kavaks explained. "Naira was one of us before she was captured. Now, where is she?" "Before." Jack could answer. A sound came from beneath the floor. The trapdoor pushed up, and Naira emerged, struggling with her swollen body. "Krell," she said, recognizing the lead Kavaks. "You found me." The Kavak soldiers stared at her in shock, their weapons lowering as they took in her pregnant form. "What have they done to you?" Krell asked, moving toward her. "Nothing I didn't choose," Naira said, reaching for Jack's hand. "He saved me, and now he is the father of my child." The silence that followed was broken by the sound of approaching helicopters. Earth military reinforcements were coming. "We must go," Krell said urgently. "All of us now." Jack looked at the unconscious forms of Grant and the intelligence officer, then at Naira and the Kavak soldiers. In that moment, he had to make the most important decision of his life, which world he belonged to. The abandoned mining complex was cold and damp, but it was safer than the cabin had been. 3 days had passed since their escape. Jack checked Naira's vital signs again, worried by her shallow breathing. The stress of their flight through the mountains had taken its toll on her already weakened body. "How is she?" Dr. Kelly asked, entering the makeshift medical room they had set up in what once was an office. "Stable, but the baby is coming soon," Jack replied. "Too soon." In the outer chamber, Krell and 2 other Kavaks resistance fighters kept watch. They had helped Jack, Naira, and Dr. Kelly escape just before Colonel Brandt's reinforcements arrived. Now they were all fugitives, hunted by both human and Kavaks. Military forces. Dr. Kelly looked at the readings on her portable monitor. Her body chemistry is changing rapidly. The baby is drawing more resources than she can spare. Jack took Naira's hand. All four of her eyes opened slowly. Jack, she whispered, is everyone safe? Yes, he assured her. Rest now. Save your strength. Krell entered the room, ducking his tall frame under the doorway. Like all Kavaks, he had forearms and gray-green skin, but his was darker than Naira's now hybrid-toned flesh. The human military has set up checkpoints on all major roads within 50 miles, Krell reported. And our scouts report Kavak's ships have entered Earth's atmosphere under stealth. They are searching for us, too. Jack stood up. How did they find us so quickly? The child, Dr. Kelly said quietly. The energy signature is getting stronger. It's like nothing either species has encountered before. Naira stirred on the bed. The baby comes, she said, her voice strained. I can feel it. Jack and Dr. Kelly moved quickly, preparing the limited medical equipment they had brought. Krell stood back, watching with all four eyes wide. I must report this to our leaders, he said. A child of both species. It changes everything. No reports, Jack said firmly. Not until they're safe, both of them. A sudden noise from outside made them all freeze. The sound of vehicles approaching. One of the Kavaks fighters rushed in. Human military vehicles, at least 4, and a helicopter. Jack looked at Naira, then at Dr. Kelly. Get ready for the birth. I'll handle this. You can't fight them all, Dr. Kelly protested. I'm not going to fight, Jack said. I'm going to talk. Outside, Jack watched as the military vehicles formed a perimeter around the mining complex. Armed soldiers took positions, their weapons aimed at the entrance. A familiar figure stepped out of the lead vehicle. Colonel Grant. Jack walked out slowly, his hands raised. I'm unarmed, he called. Grant approached, his own weapon drawn. Where are the aliens, Harmon? We tracked their ship to this area. Before I tell you anything, I want to know who else is coming, Jack said. I know the Kavaks military is on there. Way 2. Grant's expression confirmed Jack's suspicion. We detected their ships entering Earth atmosphere an hour ago. Unauthorized entry. Could be the start of a new offensive. It's not an offensive, Jack said. They're looking for the same thing you are. A noise overhead made them both look up. A Kavak shuttle broke through the clouds, its engines glowing. As it descended toward them, human soldiers raised their weapons. Hold your fire, Jack shouted. If you start shooting, we all die today. Grant hesitated, then signaled his men to stand down. You have 2 minutes to explain why I shouldn't arrest you for treason and blow that ship out of the sky. Because what's happening in there, Jack pointed to the mine entrance, could end this war. Inside, Naira cried out in pain as Dr. Kelly worked to deliver the baby. The sound echoed through the complex and out to where Jack stood with Grant. What was that? Grant demanded. That, Jack said, is the sound of the first half-human, half-Kav's child being born. Grant stared at him in disbelief. That's impossible. So, everyone thought, Jack replied, until it happened. The Kavak shuttle landed 100 yards away. Its door opened, and several Kavaks in ornate military armor stepped out. That's General Vrex, Krell whispered, appearing beside Jack. Supreme Commander of the Kavaks forces. Jack took a deep breath. Colonel, I need you to call your superior officer, the highest-ranking one you can reach. And I need you to not shoot anyone for the next hour. Grant studied Jack's face. You really believe this changes things, don't you? I know it does, Jack said. Now we just need to convince them. An hour later, the mining complex had become an impromptu diplomatic meeting. Ground. A human admiral named Shepard had arrived by helicopter. She now stood face to face with General Vrex of the Kavaks, while Jack acted as intermediary. "This is highly irregular," Admiral Shepard said, her eyes darting to the Kavaks general. "For both our peoples," General Vrex replied through a translator. Cry from inside the complex silenced everyone. Not the cry of Naira this time, but a new sound, neither human nor Kavaks. But somehow both Dr. Kelly appeared at the entrance, her medical coat stained. "It's done," she said to Jack. "There, both alive, barely." Jack turned to the military leaders. "Before you decide the fate of our worlds, you need to see what's inside. Both of you, alone." Against the protests of their security teams, Admiral Shepard and General Vrex followed Jack inside. The room was dim, lit only by the soft glow of medical equipment. Naira lay on the bed, exhausted but conscious. In her forearms, she cradled a small bundle. "May I present," Jack said quietly, "the first child of both our worlds." He gently pulled back the blanket to reveal the infant. Its skin was a beautiful blend of human pink and Kavak's blue-green. It had 2 arms like a human, but with the distinctive markings of Kavak skin. Its eyes, all 3 of them, blinked up at the visitors. Admiral Shepard gasped. General Vrex made a sound in his native language that the translator didn't catch. "Impossible," the general finally said. "Yet here she is," Naira replied weakly. The baby made a soft cooing sound and reached up with tiny fingers toward the light. "3 years ago, I made a choice to save one life," Jack said. "Now that choice has created a new life, one that proves our species aren't as different as we thought." Admiral Shepard stepped closer, looking at the child with wonder. "What does this mean for the war?" "It means we have a reason to talk," Jack said. "Really talk. About why we're fighting, and if we need to continue." 3 months later, Jack stood by a window in a specially designed dwelling in the newly established neutral zone. Outside, representatives from both species gathered for the first official peace talks. The building sat on an island in the Pacific Ocean, donated by Earth as a meeting ground between worlds. Naira joined him, carrying their daughter. They had named her Hope, simple and clear in both languages. "The Kavaks delegation says the moderate faction is gaining power," Naira said. "The military hardliners are losing support." Jack nodded. "The Earth Council voted to suspend offensive operations while the talks continue. It's a start." "All because of her," Naira said, looking down at their child. Hope reached up with her small hands, grabbing at the sunlight streaming through the window. Her 3 eyes, 2 human-like. 1 Kavaks blinked happily. On the battlefield where they had first met, now 3 years past, workers from both species were building a memorial. Not to those who died fighting, but to a future where their peoples might live together. Jack put his arm around Naira's shoulders. One small choice, made in the heat of battle, had changed the course of 2 civilizations. One act of compassion had created a bridge between worlds, and in their arms, that bridge smiled up at them, unaware of her place in history, content simply to be loved.